Welcome to the GSD with Jeni podcast, where we talk about how to overcome all the stuff that gets in the way of getting shit done. Imposter syndrome, fear, money, relationships, networking, building businesses. We're going to talk to experts, or as I say, mavens, that provide practical and tactical advice on how to GSD. I'm your host, Jeni Buchholz, founder and CEO of Haven Creative. I started my business with $300 in a laptop and grew it to a team of Haven mavens, serving clients around the world and generating over 7 figures in revenue. I'm incredibly proud of the success we've had, but I still need help too. So I started this podcast with the intent to dive deeper into the things that hold us back from achieving our goals. So thank you for joining me on this journey to GSD. Let's get started. Welcome to GSD with Jeni. Today we have Melanie White, CEO of Hellwig Suspension Products, a company her great-grandfather started back in 1946. Melanie actually started in the sales department, cold calling. She eventually became VP and then the company's first ever female CEO. She's a SEMA Person of the Year, SEMA Businesswoman of the Year, and is currently the chair-elect of the SEMA Board of Directors. And on top of all that, she's a wife, a mother, and a truly inspiring GSD leader. I can't wait to hear more about her story, so let's get started. Melanie, welcome to GSD with Jeni.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Jeni, for having me.
Absolutely. And what a year and time to be here. So Hellwig's celebrating 80 years this year.
Yeah, 80. I know. I can't believe it. And if you think about, we just recently did like a Facebook and like a social media post about what was happening when we first came into business. And it's just kind of wild, like the different things, that were happening that year. So
Well, it's a great segue because I want to back up and hear your story and how you started. I understand it was 2005 and you were cold calling in the sales department.
yeah. So I went to school and I got my degree in psychology, and I thought that's the direction that I wanted to go. I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. And so I was working at a bakery um, after college and, figuring out like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And I'm really going to go to more school. Am I sure I want to do that? And working in the bakery, there was like a salesperson that called on us every week. And she would come in, she would like take our order, ask us how we're doing, give us new ideas, like different things like that. And I was like, I want her job. Like, that's awesome. I want to do that. And I want to help people. I want to like be supportive. And I came home that weekend and my dad and I talked, and I was like, I think I want to go into sales. And he was like, that's funny you mentioned that. This week, one of the sales manager had said, don't you have a daughter that wants to come work in this industry?
I don't
So
know.
yeah. So it was just like this weird, like, timing, that worked out for us. And so I started cold calling. But that is not a fun gig. Um,
No. Yeah.
and
No.
I love it now. I like find it as a challenge and right, all of the things, but like, because I know my product really well, because I know the market well, because of all of these other things. But at the time I knew nothing. So I, had a little bit of training, would go out, and I just got, I mean, I was really young. So I think like the youthfulness was my thing there. But I was just young. And I just felt like I got my like teeth kicked in every day. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know. And I didn't, right? Like that was the truth of it. And I remember I had like this an hour drive home, and I was like crying and like, am I really going to do this? This is really what I'm going to do with my life, is like this every day. And by the time I got home, I had like gotten to a point of like, okay, this is how I'm going to handle it. Like the reason why I'm getting my teeth kicked in is because I don't know what I'm talking about. So figure that out, like do better at that. Like also like I wasn't calling on the right places either. So I was like, okay, narrow down this um area. And then just you're there to help people. So if you are there and it's like not a good fit, don't push. Just like walk away, say I'm interested. If you want to, talk more, here's my card, and leave. And so I just started to like practice some things in that. and it made me better. And honestly, like the stuff that like I learned during that time of my life is stuff I still use now. Um, Being prepared, going into a meeting, um, like knowing when to bow out when it's not a good fit. Like there are just so many things that I'm like that while that was just not fun. It's like, oh, well, the not fun parts of your life are the ones when like you learn the most and you put the most in place, right? Um, and I know I'm talking a lot, but
No, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. And it's funny because it's exactly what I had on here is like, what was the lesson that you learned from cold
yeah.
calling? So it was perfect. Yeah.
So in my family, my son is 16 and plays baseball and water polo and like other sports, right? And we have a saying, it's like win or learn. Like it's not win or lose, it's win or learn. And so if you're
I
gonna
literally just said
lose,
this.
you
Yes.
have to learn, right? And unfortunately, in the winning, you don't get as much of the feedback. You're not as motivated to, but like all the things, right? And so I have to think about that, like when I'm going through harder times in whatever it is, and especially in work, it's like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn this lesson, even though it's like not fun. And I want to like, I really like to win. It's like, well, I'm going to put this into play.
It's just too funny. I was speaking a couple weeks ago and I said that there's no winning or losing, it's winning and learning. So whenever I get kicked in this, well, it's a terrible saying, but I say when I get kicked in the dick, I go, what was I meant to learn? What was I
Yeah.
meant to learn? And it's shaping that really is helpful and going, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me, right? Words
Mhm.
matter. And it's hard to motivate ourselves sometimes to get through those icky moments, but it sounds like you really made the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, I think like, "Oh, I did make the best of it," but,
But
I was in
yeah.
my 20s, I thought, things should be easier, and I think that's part of it, right, is that you do go into with this perspective, any position, and you think like, "Oh, that looks easy from the outside," and it's
Mhm.
and even when I'm in my role now and that, I was like, "Oh, when I get there, it'll be easy and I'll have things figured out,"
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, we're always learning, and I feel like even, like, 20 years from now, I'll be like, "Well, I did learn that lesson, but I'm still learning this one."
Yeah.
So
I had someone said to me recently, they're like, "When you were a kid, didn't you look at your parents and go, oh, they must know everything?' And then now we're parents and go, we don't know. We're trying to figure it out too."
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I also have a 16-year-old. And I'm like, I've never been a parent to a 16-year-old before. I'm figuring it out,
Yeah,
doing the
and
best. So back to the Hellwig journey. And I mean, I mentioned it in your bio in your intro, but this is a family business. So the pressure of coming in, what was that like for you?
So the pressure coming in, there wasn't really anything.
Okay.
So, my family has never, we've been very careful. Like, we don't talk about work at the, like, Thanksgiving. We're not talking about Hellwig. Family dinners, we're not really like talking about that. It's funny. I like know about a lot of my siblings and like what they're doing and all of the different things, but we just sort of have had a rule that like we don't bring the family business into our personal times.
Awesome.
So, and I think that's been really good because then we can stay like yeah, as a family because it's a very good like way to keep things separated. So I didn't really grow up like knowing a ton of the on the business side. So I would come with my dad, my sisters and I would come and when he'd like work on a project here late at night and we'd pretend to answer the phones and play with the forklifts and not that we really did anything with them but we were like just hanging out and that's kind of like my only experience with the company.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to a SEMA show and I was like, "Oh, this is really fun. This is a cool industry." So that was like my first sort of like taste into the market, and it's before I started working here at Hellwood too. Um, and then so there was never any pressure, which I think was really good. And so there was never any pressure or even expectation of like, "Oh, I'll one day take it over." It's good and bad, but that
Yeah.
right because there was no road paved. There was no like I really did have to like navigate that myself. And I think some people think, "Oh, well, you came into the family business, so it was just
Oh,
assumed." And
right.
every position I had, I would like do the job first and then I'd ask for the title to go with it. Um, and so like I was cold calling and sales, and then I was like, we really need marketing stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm doing marketing stuff. And then I'd be like, hey, I should be called the marketing manager and doing all the things. And then, so that's how my career sort of like progressed in Hellwig. And like the hardest was like, I was VP for a long time. And then I was like, I'm really doing president stuff. I think I need that title. Wow. That one was
Within that, it was identifying an opportunity, but taking up responsibility and then asking for a title. It wasn't just, I want this title, right? So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is, it's interesting. I never really had like I hadn't mapped that out in my career until more recently. I was like, oh, I did that. And that's how I got to my different levels in the company. It wasn't like, oh, here you go, here's this, and we need someone to do this job. It was like, no, I saw um, the weak points, right, or the opportunities for someone to come in and like do work in that area, and then that's how I progressed.
I think that's really important to lean in on for anyone listening, because a lot of young people in their career paths are just wanting to jump to that next title and that next level. And I'm constantly having to coach, like, okay, well, how are you contributing to these roles and what do you see in that and what value do you add? So I like how you mentioned that. You saw where the weak points are and started doing those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think because, I'm a part of a family business, we're also a smaller business. I had that opportunity to do that. I had that opportunity to fill those spots. And I mean, that's part of being in a smaller business too. You can wear several different hats. And I do see like with young people, they want to like I filled this silo and I'm here. And I I think that's one of the things that I want for my son is like understanding like today I might do this and tomorrow I might do that, right? It's
Mhm.
okay to have this variety in your job, and you might need to, because the company can't have just a person filling a certain role. You might need to do other things too. And you'll learn in that process too. And like you might be I had someone um, with HR who did a little bit of HR, and she was like customer service too. And she was like, I love HR. I'm going to go do that. And we didn't have a full time position. So she left, she went and like got more schooling and stuff in that. And I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. Go, like, it gives you those opportunities to learn.
Yeah. And I think about that as like, we don't get a chance to really test things and try and fail. I feel like a lot of people, my kids, my sons are afraid. We said earlier, winning and losing, winning and learning. I think some of them might just see it as losing and are afraid to fail and afraid to be embarrassed. So they don't try. If they don't try, they don't know what they love. And so to your point, it's like, try a few different things, see what you like, see what sticks, what fits. I wish there was more encouragement to do that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also not just encouragement, but like the freedom to fail at some
The
things.
freedom to fail. Yes. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
We almost like here, I don't want it to be like there's some things that we could like wait until it's perfect, and the product and all of that, right? It needs to be perfect. But like, no, we're gonna try this new campaign, and maybe you don't go all in on something, but you just like, okay, did that work? Did we handle that correctly? And then you take that feedback. But if you're not even like playing at the edges and you're just like, I play tennis, and if you're not playing at the edges, like you lose a
Playing
lot.
safe. Yeah, you're playing too safe, and to that point, you're not iterating, you're not designing, you're not being innovative, you're being like everyone else, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you go back to the journey from VP to president, I mean, you were the first CEO of Hellwig. Like,
This first female CEO of Hellwig. So
sorry,
yeah,
that's what I meant to say.
yeah, yeah.
First female CEO of Hellwig is
Yes.
yeah. So, after I mean, stepping into that role, how did that feel?
I mean, it didn't feel that foreign. I was doing the work. So I think
Yeah.
that's part of it, is that I was doing the work ahead of time. I, built into I built my path into that position. And so it didn't feel at all like anything different. I think that's like sometimes the expectation, right? Like once you step into a certain role,
Yeah, it feels
stuff
bigger, but you're like,
feels
"Wait a second."
different.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it didn't feel that different, right? And if I look at like how I was a CEO, like, you know, uh 6, 7 years ago, versus now, it's like very different. I'm a very different CEO than I was there, but I'm growing and I should be different. Um, and so I it I think the bigger thing with that is I have this legacy, right? This family legacy. There's a lot to make sure that that I keep it going. I'm pretty motivated to make sure that I keep it going, not just because I have 50 employees and I want them to do well and all of that, but because like, this has been around for 80 years. And it, of course, like I became an owner in late 2019, right before the pandemic.
Oh, geez.
We have never, right? Like this company has like experienced a lot of stuff and like
Sure.
it's one thing that we hadn't been through. So it was really like overwhelming at that time. And we definitely had some bumps. And we've, but I learned so much during that time that I really think will, carry me forward.
So you mentioned that you were a different CEO 6 years ago. Is that what you're alluding to, or what made you more the difference then versus now?
I mean, so many things. Yeah, for sure. Um, I yeah, I mean, beat COVID, right? And like you could get whatever you wanted and when you wanted it. And, so I have different relationships with my vendors than I did back then. I have different relationships with my customers than I had then. With my employees, like all of the things, like it really did. There are things that we just had to do differently because of the times. It was so hard to get product. It was we were seeing price increases on everything, and it just overnight. So it was a tricky time to navigate. And I'm definitely more on top of things than I was back then.
Think, yeah, we all built more resilience from COVID for sure. I know, remember thinking like, is my business going to be out of business? But we ended up having one of our best selling years yet. And I know some of our other clients like Fab Fours, they had a great year because people are going out and playing in their vehicles. How
Yeah.
did that year end up for you all?
Yeah, it was great. It was the bigger issue was being able to supply it. So we had a lot of issues with supply chain. So
That
to be
makes
able
sense.
to take advantage of that, so to supply not just supply chain, but like costs and all of those things. Yeah, we got hit pretty hard. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So your dad still works in the company, CFO, is that true?
he does. Yeah, he still comes in. Yeah, he's great. We definitely use his knowledge because he has so much tribal knowledge.
Yeah, I was gonna say the tribal knowledge must be insane in the company.
It's insane. Yeah, so that's amazing. And then but he's taking way more fishing trips, and he'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow on a fishing trip," right? So like that's it's I love that he's able to do that.
I think it's pretty special that you can work with your dad in that capacity, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But although I would probably tell my dad I don't want him to tell me about the numbers. So I'm like, "No, let me just do what I need to do
Yeah.
to run the business successfully."
Yeah.
Um, so what was the hardest kind of conversation, or maybe there's not because your family doesn't talk about business and things, but have you had to hit a moment where there's a difficult conversation about the business with the family? Like even, during these COVID times, are we going to survive? What do we need to do to shift?
Yeah. Sure. We definitely I mean between he and I, we definitely had plenty of conversations of uh yeah, how
Like numbers. Yeah.
numbers and what are we going to do here. Um and I mean it was a lot though of just figuring it out, and I was really I was boots on the ground. So it was a lot of it was a huge learning curve for me. So
Yeah. Um, as CEO, what do you own? the most? Like some companies CEO owns people, culture, vision. Tell me about your role as CEO.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that happened during COVID is I was like, okay, I don't like how that's getting handled. I'm going to handle it. I don't like how that's getting handled. I'm going to handle it. Right. So
Yeah.
right now I own too much. I'm sure I have great people. I have, I have a really great team around me. And I do think one of my new opportunities is to like maybe let people have some of that back, but I own I own the vision, the culture, the team building. What are we doing for safety? Yeah, I own a lot.
I think safety still falls under people. So you own people,
Yeah,
culture. That makes sense.
yeah.
But I also understand the feeling of I own probably too much. I think that's where some of us get into a burnout, if you will. And so how do you avoid burnout? How do you manage all the things?
Yeah, I think that's a tricky one, and I've done better sometimes in my life and worse. And I'm leaving we leave tonight for my first vacation in a couple years. So like where I'm like stepping away, we're going internationally, all of that, um, and I'm feeling a lot of pressure to like be ready to leave and because I really want to like step away. I don't want to be like half in the business and then half on vacation. I do want that opportunity and I do feel like I owe it to my family to do that. So I think that being able to balance it is that being 100% in whatever I'm doing at the time. So for me, I used to like say yes to a lunch with a friend during the day. I used to like maybe have a coffee, but I'm making it up later. So I'm taking away from time with my family where even if it's intentionally like I'm having a dinner with a friend, it's like in that time frame. So I got really like strict about I work is work and personal is personal. So like I'll have, vendors come to town um and they want to like take me to dinner and I'm like, "Nope, we can do lunch." But like that is who I really do bucket that to be able to protect both time. And it's really helped me then be more present in my personal life and present in work because I think so much of what we do and like for me, my world is so intermingled because it is a family business. I'm CEO. I'm really freaking motivated to make sure that like, things are going well. It's hard for me to turn it off
Yeah.
that I tend to not. So I do have to have a discipline there.
Yeah, I echo so much of what you said, and I think I struggle with the word balance because I just don't feel like I'm ever fully balanced. Sometimes I'm better CEO, I'm a better parent, I don't know, the buckets are just all never full and
Yeah.
even or whatever. And then I had someone tell me once, which the quote resonated with me. It's like you think about the teeter totter on the playground. Well, it's more fun when it goes up and down, and that's just how kind of the flow of life.
Yeah.
And there's energy there in the imbalance. And I was like, okay, I can feel a little bit better
Yeah.
about that. But I love what you're saying that the time blocking and protecting that space. And you're right, that's kind of what I had to do as well to go like, all right, Friday mornings, like I'm not doing meetings. I have to focus on growing the company. Okay, on Saturdays, I'm just doing this. But I find my mind wander too. And you're telling me years since you've been on a vacation?
Like a couple years. Yeah. So
Well, I'm glad you're going. And it sounds like you might, yeah, it'll be a good learning experience for you to be able to step away
yeah.
completely, right? And not check your phone.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone like long weekends and things like that. So this is like no one should feel sorry for me in that way. This is just
No,
like
no, no.
so yeah.
We found a quote that you had said, they might not have remembered my name, but they remember meeting me. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, because I
I
think
love that. Tell me more about it.
well, because I think okay, so this started at one point. I used to think I was talking to I think he was a consultant and he was like an operations consultant and we were talking about something and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that person doesn't respect me because I'm a woman." And he was like, "Hard stop. We cannot go past this." He's like, "The word like being a woman isn't against you. Like and even if it is like thinking about it, that doesn't help you. And he was like, if like the biggest thing against you right now is your youth, um, and you can do something about that. They're gonna have some expectations that you're showing up and you're not prepared and all of the things. So just show up, be prepared, do the things. Um, and then so that really like helped me start to change how I handled that. I mean, legit, like still to this day, I get someone comes into my booth at SEMA or at a show, and I'm with someone, a gentleman, whatever age, it doesn't matter. And like the person coming in asks them questions, and then like it's a weird like triangle. And then that person asks me, that my employee asks me, and then I respond, but the guy, right? It like doesn't ever. Uh,
Yes. Yes. Yep.
that definitely is a thing, and it still is, and it's this interesting dynamic. Now I think it's kind of funny.
I do too.
Kind of like play with it a little bit. I was like,
Same.
when are you going to like direct your question to me? And like sometimes it's never. And sometimes I get him to do it sooner. But when we had that conversation about like thinking that, there was some sort of that it might hurt me being a female in this industry. And he had that hard stop conversation. What actually shifted, and I was in marketing at the time, I started to think about, well, like with marketing, it's like, how do you stand out? And it's like, oh, actually, if I just like kind of change the way that I thought about this, it's like, oh, this could be actually a benefit for me. Is that and, people will remember, like, there are a ton of dudes in our industry. So
Hmm.
it is very easy to remember the guy or to not remember the guy because it's like, I don't know, uh, it was, I think his name is John, and it's like whatever company, right? And so it allowed me to be able to know that like they might not remember my name, but they're going to remember. And I have this still happen. Like at one point, I talked to this lady at Hellwig or a girl or whatever, like whatever they come in and say, they remember that I said something and I followed up, and they're there to like, do some sort of business transaction. And so being in sales, being in marketing, it's like, how do you stand out? And so I started to think about like that and being okay with like, yeah, you're not going to probably remember my name. That's okay. Like if I'm helping Hellwig stand out, then I'm doing my job.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point too. But I've never thought of it that way. Like they'll remember me because I'm the only maybe in that scenario.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm also a big believer in, we are only obstacles. And I always often talk about that being head trash, right? Like, oh, well, I can't do this because, and it's like, why are we creating these own self-limiting beliefs? If we look at it as an opportunity, which is what you did, you find
Mhm.
workarounds, and I think you end up excelling and growing faster. So that's a really good takeaway for that. And also, it's funny too when you mention people come in to talk, to the guy in the booth. I have that experience in my everyday dining. Like I order a burger, my husband gets the salad, and they'll drop off the salad to me, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm the burger."
Yeah, totally.
It just happens. We have unconscious biases that we might not always be aware of, and definitely in our industry. Have you ever felt though like that has held you back from scaling? Has there any been a challenge with being a female in this industry?
No, I mean, I think it's just that, like you said, like the biases that happen. But they're just, there's a part where it's just like, well, it just kind of made me better at my job. And so, because it made me like have to fine tune things. And it used to make me really grumpy. And now I just see it as like, it, it does make me better to, just like having competition makes you better. It's like an element of like, that does make me better, even though it's like annoying and sometimes feels like it can be a hurdle. It's really not.
Yeah, and I think that's a point I want to lean in on again for any women listening is that, it's only a barrier if you make it one. I think that there have been not I think there have been so many men in this industry that have mentored me and helped me and probably coached me more than some of the relationships I've had with women. So it's like as long as I've been open and willing to learn and listen and I think that it's been a very supportive industry in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think in all places, there's all s all types of people come in,
Yes.
and
Yes.
just be open to the ones, right? Like like
Yes. Be careful. Yes.
yes, be careful. And not everyone has good intentions. But most do. Like, and I think that's like it's the same for me. If I was open and willing to be vulnerable, of like, I don't know how to solve this problem. Do you like it's men and women that are both like giving me advice there.
Yeah, definitely. Has there been a single mentor that you've leaned into the most, or a coach, or anyone that kind of helps you with your mindset to get you where you are?
Yeah, so I had a mentor early in my career, Ann Johnson. It was actually through the SEMA Business Women's Network that we got connected. And it was this like really beautiful relationship. She was on the SEMA board at the time, and she was really heavy involved in the light truck world, which I was involved in. And she was amazing, like really like, would invite me to anything that she was going to. Um, so much that she would let me stay in her room with her. And so I not only like got to like be mentored by her, but I got like front row to her habits, right? Like we'd go have a drink at the bar, but we'd be back in our room and like she'd be up early, she'd be reading the paper, she'd be preparing for the day. So that really was like foundational for me and seeing like how does a successful person set up their time. So that was amazing. But George Lathoris, who he just, became he just went to the Hall of Fame for SEMA. He was an incredibly amazing mentor for me. And so many people, I mean, I'm probably not going to, be able to say all of the people. And then I've worked with coaches for a long time because I do think, especially there's a certain point where you get to, uh, where you have to keep so many things uh like private. There's a lot, not that everything's like secretive, but there's just certain things that you can't talk about. And so I think it's been really helpful for me to have a coach to lean on. I've been a part of like Vistage groups. I'm not a part of one right now, but those have been really amazing too. Just being able to be open to like the feedback that you would get. So I've learned, I think just like any athlete, it's coaches can see something you can't in what you're doing. And then there's a certain point where you're not like, I don't have a boss. No one's going to tell
Right.
me,
Who's going to hold you accountable? Exactly.
yeah, like, and they're not going to tell me like, hey, the way you said that was interpreted this way, right? Like a coach can tell you that, but like my employees, like they'll
I
dance
know.
around it, right? If I like put my foot in my mouth somewhere, they'll be like, oh, like,
I
hey,
know.
this was interpreted this way, but they're really careful about that, which I totally get. So, yeah. So,
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It's, I do it because I want someone else to kick me around a little bit and tell me what I need to get better at, see the label outside the jar, if you will. So I also have some notes that you've roughly tripled Hellwig's revenue during your tenure. What was the single biggest unlock that made that possible?
I mean, I wish it was just one thing, right? Like that, I
Right?
think that,
I know, right?
uh, that's part of it is, right, is like it's never just one thing. And it's even when like there's a problem to solve here, it's like, okay, I wish I could go attack it. And it's just the one thing that we had to go attack. And I was like, oh, it's like, 1,000 things. And I think like I will say though, with that, it was like just the mindset and being open to what were the possibilities. And I do think, I lean into more of that visionary of where could we go. So I was really playing with like that idea of like, okay, we're here now. What would it look like if we were bigger? How would we have to do that? And then chase those down.
Yeah. I mean, you think about you just hit 80. What's the next 80?
Yeah.
We talk about how you GSD as a person. How do you do that for the business? Like, do you set strategic priorities for the year and then have quarterly check-ins? Like, what does that look like to help move the company towards your vision?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it a lot of different ways. I mean, I am a believer in traction.
Yeah.
The EOS systems. So I do follow those, but I like make them my own. I go back and forth between I'm like including people and then I'm just doing it on my own too. So I don't have like a system that's like, perfect in that way. But my system is though, I'm at least checking in with myself, like where are we at for the quarter? How are we finishing them on? And I have my own goals in that area that I'm really focused on. And then we have company goals too. So, there's a little bit of both of that. And then I mean, I'm I'm kind of ridiculous about setting setting goals in general because my we go to the desert for the new year and I take everyone's goals. I send out quarterly reminders and like, hey, how are you doing on them? And then we give out awards for whoever like got closest to their goal from the year before. And it's so much that like even the kids are a part of it now. So I think the youngest one was like 6, who gave me her goals of like what she wanted to do in the year.
Oh, I love it. So it's not business goals, it's the personal ones?
It's personal, so on that side, it's
Oh.
personal, but, like, I'm a goal setter, I have, like, this little thing that's, like, goal digger, and it's, like yeah, I really love being able to, like, set something, and, I really love when they're, like, that big, hairy, audacious goal, like, "Can I get this done?"
Yep.
I think it's just so fun to have those, and, you know part of it is, like, along the way, you're not really feeling like you're making the progress you are, and then you, like, all of a sudden look back and go, like, "Holy heck, I did like, that's how far I went."
Yes.
Um, so,
And it
yeah.
creates momentum too, right? Like whenever I hit one of the milestones or something towards it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. But
Yeah,
typically I'll set a goal and I put it to the side and I kind of put my head down and just start working. And
yeah,
then I look up at the end of the year and go, oh my gosh, we did
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
that's fun. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You said earlier on that you're very competitive. So I would have guessed that Achiever is probably one of your top 5 strength finders and you like to achieve something the
I
day.
Yeah, I do like to achieve something, and I'm competitive. I mean, even it's ridiculous. I have a serious problem. Like my husband and I both were in town last night and I like beat him home and I know like just silly things like that so
Please, I'm sure every person when they get in the car and they see what time the GPS says is gonna get them there wants to beat the time. Like, we get competitive over that little
totally.
but it's cool, like, after, like, I don't know, 100 of these conversations that I've had, there is a commonality between successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and there is that grit, the resilience, the competitive nature, the drive to want to achieve, and so I always wonder, like, are leaders born or made? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have been I can see that I've been made and also born. And I think it's a little bit of both. Like I'm the oldest of 4. So
Okay.
I'm used to sort of being in charge. I'm used to having some responsibility on me. I've had it my whole life. And I think part of that is yeah, and all along the way, I mean, yeah, I got more competitive and but it already was there, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
like some kind of drive was already there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. I saw you're recently in DC. Tell me a little bit about your work with the SEMA board and industry things that are happening right now. I'm curious.
Yeah. So I'm currently the chair of the SEMA board of directors. So I have volunteered for SEMA for most of my career. There's like 1 year I didn't, when I first got in the industry that I wasn't volunteering in some capacity. So I'm now at the highest volunteer position, which I think is kind of funny. You
Awesome.
know, uh, the and it's just because I love this industry, and I think, there's a lot of impact that we can make when we, like, come together and we can work together on things, and you're, like, in a lot of ways, taking your company hat off and then, putting the industry hat on, and I was recently in DC, and there's so many good things that are happening in DC. There's just a lot of pressure that the industry was under that has really lightened up. I think the biggest is like the EV mandates that came out. Re- and it's not that we're against EVs as an association. It's that everyone everyone should have the opportunity for choice, right? And there was just sort of this like, this is the only way, but that's not the only way. I mean, look at what we're doing as an industry of like, you know, the hydrogen vehicles that are at SEMA, there's definitely like the EVs, there's alternative fuels they're playing with. And our industry is all about innovation and making things better. And so there's this big opportunity for us as an industry to really like come together and highlight that. But we have to get attention from lawmakers because unfortunately they just don't have that. We're the boots on the ground that they need to hear from. And so they do need to hear from us and hear about like other opportunities. So I was in DC in May, and then just recently I was in Sacramento too. So talking, because we manufacture here in California. So talking to California lawmakers about some of the challenges that we have as well. Like both are really important to make sure that, the state, local governments know, as well as like the federal government knows what we're doing and what we need support with.
Yes, I'm glad that you are there doing that work, and I agree with you. We're stronger together as a community in GSD. So my last favorite question is there a quote or a motto that you tend to live by or that has driven you throughout your career?
There's so many that,
Yeah.
and it's hard. I actually have a board, like a whiteboard that I used to have in my office. It's now in like the conference room. But it has, what would you do if you weren't afraid? What would, there's there's just so many like, what was another one? And
Well,
then
like you just mentioned, what would you do if you're afraid? It ties beautifully back to what you said about your 16-year-old son and saying there's no winning or losing, it's winning and learning. If we are not afraid to fail, we can do more learning and we can do more iterating and creativity and push the vision that you're talking about earlier. So I feel like that's a beautiful summary of what you've been sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's the one that I know. I think Facebook has that in their office, and I remember going, "Oh, I really like that. I'm going to put that there." And yeah, and I don't think you can make great decisions when you're coming from a place of fear. You
Oh,
have to.
yeah, definitely. Well, it's anxiety, right? So like when I'm afraid and I can't think straight, no.
Yeah, and I really try hard to not make that. I mean, sometimes you're like, this is a really big decision, and it's hard not to feel that anxiety. And I still do everything that I can to really like try to shed that before I have to make a big decision. And my biggest thing is though, I have to sleep on something.
Mm.
Because I do think that really helps. Like, I don't know if it's you look at it differently in the morning than you would the day before. But I might have been a yes the day before and I'm a no the next day. Like sleeping on it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I notice sometimes I just need a snack. I need to go eat.
Yeah.
What is it, the halt, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I don't know. There's sometimes, right, if I'm gonna make a decision, I'm like, "Whoa, let me just slow down."
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
Or take a walk, right? If you have to make it away, I do try to get out of like the current space I'm in and like physical space too. Like if
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I have to make a really big decision and it's like I have to make it in 20 minutes. It's like, okay, I'll go do a quick walk around the plant and then I come back and make the decision. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's one of the hardest things as a CEO or leader is that there's a lot of pressure to decide and then going, "What if I choose this versus that and I send the company in the wrong direction and or we decide to do this new product and it fails," like we said earlier, like being okay with, it's okay if it didn't work out.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's part of the what would you do if you weren't afraid? And sometimes you're gonna just fail. Like you're not gonna make the right decision. But one of the things I remember it was in one of the millions of CEO books I read, but it was like, I have to make like you just the biggest thing that you need to do as a CEO is make decisions. And so, not making a decision is making a decision too. And so
Mhm.
just, okay, I want to be intentional about this. I'm going to make a decision about it. It's one of the things that I really take seriously.
Yes, and you also said my favorite word, books. So I would love to know, has there been one that you read recently that really resonated that you could share the title of?
I think AI is huge right now. So I just read the AI driven leader. So
Mm,
that one was really good. Uh, and gosh, if
that's
there are
good.
so many that
I know I have stacks, but
I do too. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous how many books I have. And then I really, when in sales, I learned to like just listen to audiobooks all the time. So I'm
Mhm.
a huge, like, I will go through a ton of audiobooks, but I'm an Audible customer. So yeah. But I'll go through a lot. And I feel like what I have found though in that is that there's so many parallel messages in them.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll just, I'm listening to one right now. I'm not going to remember the title of it. But the lady who wrote it is just fabulous. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good reminder on that. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's not something new I learned. So I just feel like it never hurts to get a refresher though on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think also it resonates at different times in my leadership journey. When I hear a message, I go, "Oh, I missed that last time. I
Uh-huh.
remember it, but it didn't sit with me the way it is now." And I love that. When you mentioned the AI driven leader, I love to use AI now is after I read a book, I'll
Yeah.
kind of verbally, download a bunch of ideas and messages. And then I'll say, what can I do in my calendar that will help me actually do the thing from the book?
Oh,
Because it drives me crazy that I'll read all these books and then I just don't maybe I don't take anything away from it, I don't do it. So I've built it into my clarity breaks, in my week, certain
that's
activities.
awesome. Good for you.
But
So I get really annoyed when they're like, do this thing. Like they have the like tasks at the end, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Like it is how you cement what you're learning.
mhm.
But I usually at least try to take one thing away and then like add
And
that in.
that's all that really matters, right? Like the one thing. But I think like people read so many books, and then they get turned in circles because they're trying to do all the things, all
Yeah.
the books. And it's like, pick what you like you said with EOS. I use a little of this, I use a little of that, and I make it my
Mhm.
own.
Yeah, totally.
No, it's great. Well, I don't want to hold you up from your impending vacation because that is awesome. So wrap up everything that you need to do. And I hope you have a wonderful trip. Thank you so much for sharing your time and talent with us.
Yeah, it's been so fun. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to GSD with Jeni. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. For more ways to GSD, you can also find me on LinkedIn at Jeni Buchholz, where you can sign up for my Maven Mindset newsletter, or follow me on Instagram at Maven Jeni. Until next time, go GSD, Mavens!